The stars looked different this far from Earth. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the horizon's edge, staring at the view screen. They had been traveling for 6 months now, mapping new star systems that no human had ever seen before. It was exciting work, but also lonely. Sometimes Jake missed home, missed the simple things like rain and trees and the smell of coffee in the morning. Lieutenant Amy Parker walked onto the bridge carrying her tablet. She was the ship's xenobiologist, which meant she studied alien life forms. Amy loved her job more than anything. Every new planet was a mystery waiting to be solved, and she approached each one with the excitement of a child opening presents. "Commander, you need to see this," Amy said, her voice trembling with excitement. "I've been scanning that moon we passed an hour ago. There's something down there, an energy signature I've never seen before." Jake looked at the readings on her tablet. The patterns were strange, almost like they were alive. The energy pulsed in rhythms that seemed too regular to be natural. "Could it be a beacon of some kind?" he asked. Amy shook her head. "I don't think so. The patterns are biological. Whatever is down there, I think it's alive." Jake thought for a moment. Their mission was to explore and document, but they also had to be careful. The galaxy was full of dangers, and not everything that looked interesting was safe. But Amy had good instincts, and he trusted her judgment. "All right," he said finally. "We'll take the shuttle down, but we go in carefully, and at the first sign of danger, we leave." "Understood?" Amy nodded eagerly and ran off to prepare the equipment. Jake watched her go with a smile. Her enthusiasm was infectious, even after all these months in deep space. 2 hours later, they landed on the moon's surface. The place was strange and beautiful. Everywhere they looked, there were crystal structures growing out of the ground like frozen trees. They glowed with soft blue and green light, pulsing in those same biological rhythms Amy had detected from orbit. "This is incredible," Amy whispered, running her scanner over the nearest crystal. "These aren't just rocks. They're alive somehow, or at least they're responding to something alive nearby." They walked deeper into the crystal forest, following the strongest energy readings. The crystals grew taller here, some of them reaching 30 feet into the air. The light they gave off was brighter too, almost bright enough to read by. Then Amy stopped suddenly. "Jake, look." In a small clearing ahead of them, surrounded by the tallest crystals, was a creature unlike anything either of them had ever seen. It was small, maybe the size of a large cat, with scales that changed color as they watched. One moment they were deep green, the next they shimmered blue, then purple. The creature had wings, delicate and translucent like a dragonfly's wings, but torn and damaged. As they got closer, Amy could see that the creature was injured. One of its wings was badly torn, and silver fluid that might have been blood leaked from several cuts on its body. The creature's eyes were open, watching them approach. Those eyes were the most startling thing about it. They held intelligence, understanding, maybe even fear. "It's hurt," Amy said softly. She moved forward slowly, holding her hands out to show she meant no harm. "Hey there, little one. We're not going to hurt you." Jake put his hand on his weapon, ready for anything. "Amy, be careful. We don't know what that thing is or what it can do." But Amy wasn't listening. She had already knelt down beside the creature, examining its injuries with gentle hands. The creature made a soft sound, something between a chirp and a whistle. It didn't try to move away or attack. Instead, it seemed to relax slightly under Amy's touch. "It's okay," Amy murmured. "I'm going to help you. Just stay still." She pulled out her medical kit and began cleaning the wounds. The creature's blood was indeed silver, and it dried quickly in the air. Amy worked carefully, using antiseptic on the cuts and wrapping the torn wing with a thin, flexible bandage. The whole time, the creature watched her with those intelligent eyes. Jake stood guard, scanning the area for any threats. But something about this place felt peaceful, despite the strangeness of it all. The crystals seemed to glow brighter as Amy worked, as if they approved of what she was doing. "There," Amy said finally. "That should help." The wing will take time to heal, but you should be okay. She stroked the creature's head gently, and it made that soft chirping sound again. We need to bring it with us, Amy said, looking up at Jake. We can't just leave it here injured. It might not survive. Jake frowned. You know the regulations about bringing unknown alien life forms onto the ship. It could be dangerous. It could carry diseases we don't know about. Look at it, Amy said. Does it look dangerous to you? It's hurt and alone. We have the medical facilities on the ship to help it properly. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Help when we can? Jake sighed. Amy was right, and he knew it. Their mission statement clearly said they should preserve and protect life wherever they found it. And the creature did seem harmless enough. Fine. But it stays in the medical bay, and we monitor it constantly. Amy carefully wrapped the creature in a thermal blanket, and it snuggled against her chest without any fear. As they walked back to the shuttle, Jake kept watching the sky. Something about this felt too easy. In his experience, nothing in deep space was ever simple. They were almost back to the shuttle when the sky began to change. At first, Jake thought it was a storm moving in, but there were no storms in space, and this moon had almost no atmosphere. The darkness spreading across the sky was something else, something solid. Amy, move faster, Jake said, his voice tight with tension. She looked up and froze. The darkness wasn't a storm. It was a shadow. The shadow of something so massive that it blocked out the stars themselves. Something was coming. Something big enough to eclipse an entire moon. And Jake had a terrible feeling he knew what it wanted. Part 2. Valthera remembered the day her youngest child was born. It had been a moment of pure joy, the kind that comes only a few times in a life spanning thousands of years. Kyrith had been different from the start, more curious than the other hatchlings, more willing to explore beyond the safe boundaries of their home world. That curiosity had always worried Valthera, but she had never imagined it would lead to this. The Dragon Emperor was not used to feeling fear. In her 3,000 years of life, she had conquered armies, negotiated with ancient powers, and held together an empire that spanned dozens of star systems. Other species feared her, respected her, or both. But now, as she searched desperately for her missing child, Valthera knew fear in its purest form. Her flagship, the Eternal Flame, was a ship grown from living metal and powered by the combined will of 50 elder dragons. It could travel faster than light, could withstand the heat of a star, and carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. But all that power meant nothing if she could not find Kyrith. My lady, said Corvus, her chief advisor and oldest friend, we have detected Kyrith's genetic signature on the third moon of the system ahead. The life signs are weak but present. Valthera felt her heart clench. Weak life signs meant her child was hurt. How long to reach the moon? Minutes, my lady. Make it seconds, Valthera commanded, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. The Eternal Flame responded to her will, bending space itself to arrive faster. As they emerged from hyperspace above the small moon, Valthera's sensors immediately located her child. But there was something else there too. Humans. 2 of them, and one was holding Kyrith. Valthera's relationship with humanity was complicated. Dragons had been traveling the stars when humans were still living in caves on their single small planet. Even now, after humans had developed space travel and begun exploring the galaxy, they were infants compared to dragon civilization. Most dragons viewed them with the same mild interest one might show to clever insects. But Valthera had seen something in humans that worried her. They were unpredictable, sometimes violent, but also capable of surprising kindness. They learned fast, adapted quickly, and refused to accept limits. In many ways, humans reminded her of young dragons, full of fire and potential but lacking wisdom. Now humans had her child, and Valthera did not know whether to be terrified or furious. She decided to be both. Prepare for personal descent, she ordered. I will retrieve Kyrith myself. Corvus looked worried. My lady, perhaps it would be wiser to send a diplomatic envoy first. We do not know the humans' intentions. Their intentions do not matter, Valthera said coldly. They have my child. I will have Kyrith back, and then we will discuss intentions. She transformed then, releasing the humanoid form she often wore aboard ship and taking her true shape. Valthera in her natural form was a sight that had made entire civilizations kneel in awe or terror. She was over 200 feet long from nose to tail, covered in scales that shimmered like molten gold. Her wings, when fully extended, could create wind strong enough to flatten forests. Her eyes glowed with ancient power, and her teeth were each the size of a human body. Valthera descended through the moon's thin atmosphere like a falling star. She could see the humans now. See them running toward their small shuttle. One of them carried Kirith wrapped in cloth. The sight of her child in alien hands made rage bloom in Valthera's chest. She landed in front of the humans hard enough to crack the crystal ground beneath her. Her wings spread wide, blocking out the sun and casting the humans into shadow. When she spoke, her voice resonated not just in the air but directly in the minds of every living thing nearby. Release the hatchling immediately. The human male froze, his hand moving toward a weapon on his belt. Foolish creature, as if such a tiny device could harm her. But the female, the one holding Kirith, did something unexpected. She stepped forward. Valthera focused her full attention on the female human. She was small, even for a human, with dark hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes showed fear, yes, but also determination. She clutched Kirith protectively, and the hatchling was making soft sounds of contentment. "We found your child injured," the human female said. Her voice was steady despite the fact that she was speaking to a being who could incinerate her with a breath. "We were treating its wounds." "We meant no harm," Valthera paused. She had expected many things, pleas for mercy, attempts to bargain, perhaps even an attack born of desperation. She had not expected a simple statement of fact delivered with such calm certainty. She extended her consciousness, a mental probe that dragons use to sense truth and lies. The human female's mind was bright, burning with genuine concern for Kirith. There was no malice there, no greed, no hidden agenda, just a simple desire to help an injured creature. Valthera pushed deeper, into Kirith's mind, sharing her child's recent memories. She saw through Kirith's eyes as the human female found the hatchling hurt and scared, saw gentle hands cleaning wounds, heard a soft voice speaking comforting words, felt Kirith's pain ease as the human worked. Most importantly, she felt Kirith's trust in this stranger, a trust that came naturally to hatchlings but was rarely given to other species. "You healed my offspring," Valthera said, and her mental voice was different now, quieter, touched with something that might have been wonder. "Your kind is so fragile, so short-lived, yet you chose to help a creature you did not know that could have harmed you." The human female nodded. "All life is precious. We believe that. Your child was hurt and I could help. It was a simple choice, simple. Yes, perhaps it was simple for humans. They lived such brief lives, barely 100 years on average. Maybe that brevity made them value life more, made them willing to take risks for others. Dragons lived for millennia, and sometimes that long life made them cautious, made them calculate every risk." Valthera lowered her massive head, bringing one eye level with the human female. Up close, she could see the fear in the human's face, see her trembling despite her brave words. But the human did not back away, did not release Kirith. "You have shown my kind something rare, human, compassion without expectation of reward or benefit. This is not common among the younger species we have encountered. Most seek advantage in every interaction." The human male spoke for the first time. "We're explorers, not conquerors. We came here to learn, to understand. Finding your child was an accident, but helping was a choice we made freely." Valthera considered this. Perhaps she had misjudged humanity. Perhaps there was more to these short-lived creatures than she had realized. She prepared to take Kirith back, to return home and report this strange encounter to her council. But then Kirith did something that changed everything. The hatchling began to glow. Part 3. Amy felt the change before she saw it. The small dragon in her arms suddenly felt warm, almost hot but not burning. Then the creature began to glow with a soft golden light that seemed to come from deep within its scales. The light grew brighter, and Amy gasped as images flooded into her mind. She saw a vast city made entirely of crystal and living metal, where dragons flew between towers that reached into the clouds. She felt the warmth of a sun that was not Earth's sun, smelled air that carried scents she had no names for. She experienced memories that were not hers, memories of flying through space without a ship, of singing songs that could reshape matter, of conversations that happened mind to mind without words. Most overwhelming of all, she felt emotions that belonged to the small dragon she held. Kirith loved its mother with a fierce devotion that made Amy's heart ache. The hatchling missed home, missed its siblings, but it also felt something new and strange. It felt connected to Amy in a way it had never been connected to anyone except family. The bond was forming, had already formed, and there was no going back. Amy stumbled, and Jake caught her arm to steady her. "Amy, what's happening?" His voice sounded far away, like he was speaking from the other end of a long tunnel. "I don't know," Amy managed to say. "I can feel it. I can feel what it feels. I can see its memories." Valthera roared, a sound that shook the ground and sent crystals vibrating with harmonic frequencies. But it was not a roar of anger. It was surprise, shock, and something else. Recognition. "Impossible," the Dragon Emperor said, her mental voice thundering through Amy's head. "The bond. The ancient bond. It has not manifested in 10,000 years." The glow around Kyrith faded slowly, and Amy could think clearly again. But everything was different now. She could still feel the dragon's presence in her mind, like a warm light in the back of her thoughts. And somehow she knew that Kyrith could feel her too. "What just happened?" Jake demanded, looking between Amy and the massive dragon looming over them. Valthera was silent for a long moment, her enormous eyes fixed on Amy with an intensity that made the young woman want to run. But she stood her ground, still holding Kyrith close. "My child possesses a gift," Valthera said finally, "a gift that appears once in countless generations among my kind. Kyrith can form what we call a soul bond with other sentient beings. It is a connection deeper than friendship, stronger than family ties. Two souls become linked, able to share thoughts, emotions, even life force itself." Amy felt her knees go weak. "But I'm human. I'm not even the same species." "That is what makes this so rare and so precious," Valthera said. "Normally, the bond forms only between dragons. That it has formed between my child and a human is unprecedented in all our recorded history." Jake stepped forward, his hand still on his weapon, though he had the sense not to draw it. "What does this mean?" "What happens now?" Valthera turned her massive head to look at him. "In my culture, such a bond is sacred. It cannot be broken without destroying both parties. To separate bonded individuals is considered the greatest crime possible, punishable by exile or death. The bond must be honored." "You're saying Amy has to stay with your child?" Jake asked. "She can't come home?" "I am saying that my child and this human are now linked in a way that transcends species, distance, and even time," Valthera said. "If they are separated for too long, both will sicken and eventually die. They need each other now, in a way that is both beautiful and terrible." Amy looked down at Kyrith, who chirped softly and nuzzled against her. The bond hummed between them, and she could feel the dragon's love and trust flowing through it like warm water. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. "I just wanted to help." "I know," Valthera said, and her voice was gentler now. "The bond cannot be forced. It happens only when two souls recognize something in each other, some deep compatibility that goes beyond conscious choice. Kyrith chose you, and some part of you chose Kyrith in return." Jake looked at Amy, and she could see the conflict in his eyes. They had been friends for years, had served together on 3 different ships. He did not want to lose her, but he also understood duty and honor, and he could see that Amy was already changing, already becoming something more than she had been. "Commander Morrison," Valthera said, focusing her attention on Jake. "I propose that we discuss this situation with both our peoples. What has happened here is unprecedented and will require careful consideration. But I give you my word as Dragon Emperor that your crewmate will not be harmed. The bond she shares with my child makes her as precious to me as Kyrith itself." Jake nodded slowly. "I need to contact my superiors. This is way above my authority level." "As I must contact my council," Valthera agreed. "But first we must see to the immediate needs of the bonded pair. Both my child and your crewmate will need time to adjust to what has happened." Amy felt overwhelmed by everything. An hour ago, her biggest concern had been cataloging some interesting energy readings. Now she was bonded to an alien creature, standing in the shadow of a dragon the size of a building, and apparently her entire life was about to change in ways she could not begin to imagine. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly. Speaking to Kyrith more than to anyone else, the little dragon made a comforting sound and sent waves of reassurance through their bond. Amy felt herself calming despite the impossible situation. Kyrith was scared too, she realized. The hatchling had been lost and hurt and frightened, and then this strange human had helped, Now they were connected, and while it was scary, it was also right somehow. They belonged together now. Valthera watched the exchange between her child and the human with ancient eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. "This changes everything," she murmured, speaking more to herself than to the humans. "For thousands of years, dragons and humans have existed separately, our paths crossing rarely and always with suspicion. But perhaps the universe is trying to tell us something. Perhaps it is time for a new age, one where our species learn to trust each other." She looked at Amy again. "What is your name, human?" "Amy Parker," Amy said, her voice stronger now. "Lieutenant Amy Parker of the human exploration vessel Horizon's Edge." "Amy Parker," Valthera repeated, tasting the name. "You have been given a great gift and a great burden. The bond will give you abilities you cannot imagine. You will live longer than normal humans, will gain strength and senses beyond your kind. But you will also be caught between two worlds, never fully belonging to either." "I understand," Amy said, though she was not sure she truly did. "No," Valthera said gently. "You do not. But you will. And I will help you, as will all my people. You are part of our family now, whether we planned for it or not." The massive dragon straightened, spreading her wings wide. "Come, both of you. We have much to discuss, and it cannot be done standing on this barren moon. You will come aboard my ship, and we will begin the process of determining what this new bond means for our peoples." Jake and Amy exchanged glances. They were about to walk onto an alien ship, to place themselves at the mercy of beings they barely understood. But what choice did they have? Amy held Kyrith close and took the first step forward. Part 4. The eternal flame was beyond anything Jake had ever imagined. The ship was alive in a way that human vessels could never be. The walls pulsed with soft light. The floors felt warm beneath their feet, and the air smelled of cinnamon and lightning. Everywhere they looked, there were dragons in their humanoid forms, moving with graceful purpose through corridors that seemed to shift and change to accommodate whoever walked them. Valthera had taken on her smaller form as well, appearing as a tall woman with golden skin and eyes that still held the fire of her true nature. She led Jake and Amy through the ship toward what she called the council chamber. Kareth rode on Amy's shoulder now, having somehow shrunk to the size of a small bird. The bond between dragon and human hummed constantly in the background of Amy's awareness, comforting and strange at the same time. "My council consists of the eldest dragons," Valthera explained as they walked. "Each has lived for at least 5,000 years. They have seen empires rise and fall, have witnessed the birth and death of stars. They are wise but also set in their ways. Convincing them to accept what has happened will not be easy." "What if they refuse?" Jake asked. "What if they decide the bond should be broken regardless of the cost?" Valthera's eyes flashed. "Then they will have to go through me first. I am the Dragon Emperor and my word is law, but I would prefer to have their support rather than their opposition. It will make what comes next much easier." They entered a vast chamber carved from a single enormous crystal. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet overhead, and the walls glowed with shifting patterns of light. Around a circular table sat 7 dragons in humanoid form, each radiating power and age that made Jake's skin prickle with instinctive fear. "My council," Valthera said formally. "I present to you Lieutenant Amy Parker of the human species and Commander Jake Morrison, also human. Amy has formed a soul bond with my youngest child, Kyrith." The silence that followed was deafening. Then an elderly dragon with silver skin and white hair spoke. "Impossible. The gift has not manifested in our people for 10,000 years and never with an alien species." "And yet it has happened, Elder Dracos," Valthera said calmly. "I witnessed it myself. The bond is complete and cannot be undone without killing both parties." Another council member, this one with dark red skin and eyes like burning coals, leaned forward. "We know nothing of humans except that they are young, aggressive, and spread across the galaxy like a virus. How can we trust one with something as sacred as a soul bond?" Amy felt anger rise in her chest, but before she could speak, Kirith sent a wave of calm through their bond. The little dragon chirped once, then began to glow again. This time the light spread from Kyrith to Amy and then outward, filling the chamber with warm golden radiance. Images appeared in the air above the table, memories from both Amy and Kyrith playing out for all to see. The council watched as Amy found the injured hatchling, watched her gentle care and genuine concern. They saw her thoughts, felt her emotions, and knew without doubt that she had acted with pure intentions. When the light faded, the council sat in stunned silence. Elder Draco spoke first. The hatchling has chosen well. This human's heart is pure, her intentions good, but that does not solve our problem. How can a human and a dragon live together? Their lifespans are completely different. Dragons live for thousands of years while humans barely manage a century. The bond changes that, said another council member, a female dragon with green skin and kind eyes. The human will live as long as the dragon now. They will age together, die together if necessary. That is the nature of the soul bond. Jake stepped forward. I need to contact my people. They need to know what has happened. Amy is one of ours and we don't abandon our own. I understand your concern, Commander, Valthera said, and you will have the chance to speak with your superiors. But first we must decide what this means for the relationship between our peoples. A council member who had not yet spoken, a massive dragon with scales that seemed to be made of pure gold, rose from his seat. I propose we see this as an opportunity. Humans are new to the galactic community, but they are not without potential. This bond could be the beginning of an alliance between our species. Or it could be a disaster, countered the red-skinned dragon. We know nothing of human culture, their values, their goals. For all we know, they could use this bond to infiltrate our society, to learn our secrets. Amy finally found her voice. We're not spies or infiltrators. We're explorers. We came to this region of space to learn and discover, not to conquer or deceive. She paused, then continued more quietly. I know you have no reason to trust us. We're young compared to you, we make mistakes, and we probably seem reckless and foolish. But we're also capable of growth, of learning, of forming genuine friendships across species. What happened between Kirith and me was not planned, but I promise you I will spend the rest of my life honoring this bond and proving that humans can be worthy partners. Her words hung in the air. The council members looked at each other, having silent conversations through mental links that humans could not access. Finally, Elder Draco spoke again. Very well. We will accept the bond, but with conditions. Amy Parker will remain with us for a period of no less than 1 Earth year. During that time, she will learn our ways, our culture, our history. She will prove herself worthy of the gift she has received. If at the end of that year we judge her suitable, then we will discuss the possibility of a formal alliance between our peoples. And what of Commander Morrison? Valthera asked. He cannot stay here for a year. His ship has a mission to complete. He may return to his people and explain what has occurred, Elder Draco said. But Amy Parker stays with us. That is not negotiable. Jake looked at Amy and she could see the struggle in his face. He wanted to argue, wanted to demand they release her. But he also understood that fighting would only make things worse. Amy gave him a small nod. She had made her choice the moment she picked up the injured hatchling. There was no going back now. I'll stay, Amy said. I'll learn everything I can and do my best to represent humanity well. Then it is decided, Valthera said. She looked at Jake with something that might have been sympathy. You may have 1 day to spend with your crewmate before you must leave. I suggest you use it to say your goodbyes and to prepare messages for her family and friends. Jake nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Amy reached out and squeezed his hand, and through the bond, Kirith sent him a pulse of gratitude and respect. The little dragon might not understand all the complexities of human relationships, but it understood that Jake was Amy's friend and that saying goodbye would be hard. As the council meeting ended and the dragons began to file out, Valthera pulled Amy aside. That took courage, she said quietly. To stand before beings who could destroy you with a thought and speak your truth. You have the heart of a dragon, Amy Parker. Perhaps that is why Kirith chose you. Amy felt tears prick her eyes. I'm scared, she admitted. I don't know if I can do this. Fear is natural, Valthera said. But remember, you are not alone. You have Kirith, and through Kirith you have me. I will not let you fail, little human. You are part of my family now, and dragons protect their family above all else. In that moment, Amy understood what she had really gained. Not just a bond with a strange creature, but acceptance into a family older than human civilization itself. The weight of that responsibility was crushing, but it was also exhilarating. She was going to bridge the gap between two species, going to help write a new chapter in galactic history, all because she had stopped to help an injured creature she did not understand. Sometimes, Amy thought, the smallest acts of kindness lead to the biggest changes. Part 5. 6 months had passed since Jake left Amy on the Eternal Flame. 6 months of learning dragon customs, studying their history, and growing closer to Kirith with each passing day. Amy had changed in ways she never expected. She was stronger now, her senses sharper, and she could feel the bond with Kyrith growing deeper and more complex as they learned to communicate without words. She stood in her quarters, looking out at the stars through a window that was not really a window, but a living part of the ship that showed her whatever view she wished to see. Today she looked at Earth, even though they were thousands of light years away. She missed home, missed coffee and rain and the sound of human voices, but she had also grown to love her new life among the dragons. Kyrith had grown too. The little dragon was now the size of a large dog, with scales that shimmered through every color of the rainbow depending on its mood. It sat beside Amy now, its head resting on her leg, sharing her moment of quiet contemplation through their bond. Thinking about home? Valthera's voice came from the doorway. The Dragon Emperor had taken Amy under her wing, literally and figuratively, teaching her everything she needed to know about dragon society. Always, Amy admitted, but I don't regret staying. This has been the most incredible experience of my life. Valthera entered the room and sat beside her. Over the months, they had developed a relationship that was part teacher and student, part mother and daughter. The council meets today to decide if you have proven yourself worthy of the bond. Are you ready? Amy took a deep breath. I don't know. I've learned so much, but I still feel like I barely understand dragon culture. There's thousands of years of history, traditions I might not know about, customs I might accidentally violate. You are overthinking, Valthera said with a smile. The council is not testing your knowledge. They are testing your heart, your commitment, your ability to bridge the gap between our peoples. And in that, you have already succeeded beyond all expectations. They walked together to the council chamber, Kyrith walking between them. The little dragon had become something of a celebrity among the dragons. Many had never seen a soul bond form, and they were fascinated by the connection between Amy and Kyrith. Some were still suspicious of humans, but most had come to accept Amy as one of their own. The council was already assembled when they arrived. Elder Draco stood as they entered. Amy Parker, you have spent 6 months among us. You have learned our language, studied our history, and participated in our ceremonies. You have shown patience, wisdom, and respect. More importantly, you have demonstrated the qualities that made Kyrith choose you in the first place. Compassion, bravery, and an open heart. He paused, looking at the other council members. We have decided to approve the bond permanently. You are now recognized as a full member of Dragon Society, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Furthermore, we believe it is time to extend an offer of formal alliance to the human people. Amy felt relief wash over her. She had not realized how tense she had been, how worried that they might still reject her despite everything. However, Elder Dracos continued, there is something you must know. Something we have kept from you until we were certain of your character and commitment. Valthera's expression grew serious. Show her, she said to the council. Elder Dracos waved his hand and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a map of the galaxy, with dragon territory marked in gold and human territory in blue. But there was something else on the map, a dark spreading stain coming from the edge of the galaxy. For the past century, we have been monitoring something approaching from the void between galaxies, Elder Dracos explained. We call them the Devourers. They are an ancient enemy older than even the dragons. They consume worlds, leaving nothing but empty husks behind. We have fought them before thousands of years ago and barely survived. Now they return, and this time they are more numerous and more powerful. Amy felt cold dread settle in her stomach. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because we needed to know if humans could be trusted with such information, Valthera said. We needed to know if you would panic, if you would run back to your people with tales of doom, or if you would stand firm and face the truth with courage. The soul bond that formed between you and Kyrith was not random chance, another council member said. The universe has ways of bringing together those who need each other. We believe that humans and dragons are meant to face this threat together. Your species is young and aggressive, yes, but you are also innovative and brave. You do not give up easily, and you fight fiercely to protect those you care about. These are qualities we will need in the war to come. Amy looked at Kyrith, feeling the dragon's steady presence through their bond. So this was all a test? The bond, my time here, everything? No, Valthera said firmly. The bond is real and sacred. Nothing about it was a test or a trick, but it did present an opportunity for us to learn about humanity through you, and for you to learn about us. We have been watching your species for decades, wondering if you might be potential allies. The bond gave us a chance to find out for certain. And what have you decided? Amy asked. Elder Draco smiled. We have decided that humans, for all their faults, have potential. You proved that, Amy Parker. In the coming years, we will need to work together closely. The Devourers will reach inhabited space within a decade. That gives us time to prepare, but only if we start now. Amy thought about Jake and the crew of the Horizon's Edge, about Earth and all the billions of humans who had no idea what was coming. My people need to know. We need to prepare. Agreed, Valthira said, which is why we are sending you as our ambassador. You will return to Earth with Kirith, of course, and explain what you have learned. You will help establish formal diplomatic relations between our species. You will begin the process of preparing humanity for what is to come. Me? Amy felt overwhelmed. I'm just a xenobiologist. I'm not a diplomat or a warrior. You are a bridge, Valthira said gently. You are the only being in the galaxy who truly belongs to both species now. You understand dragons because you are bonded to one, and you understand humans because you are one. There is no one better suited to this task. Kirith sent waves of encouragement through the bond, and Amy felt her resolve strengthen. All right, I'll do it, but I'll need help. I can't do this alone. You will not be alone, Valthira promised. I will assign advisors to help you. Dragons who understand diplomacy and military strategy. And of course you will have Kirith. The bond between you will serve as a living example of what our peoples can achieve together. Over the next few weeks, preparations were made. Amy studied diplomatic protocols, learned about military strategies, and spent hours in simulation training for scenarios she hoped would never happen. Jake and the Horizon's Edge returned to escort Amy back to Earth, and the reunion was joyful but bittersweet. They had both changed so much in 6 months. On the day of departure, Valthira took Amy aside one last time. They stood in a garden aboard the Eternal Flame, surrounded by plants from a dozen different worlds. I have something to tell you, the Dragon Emperor said quietly. Something I whispered when I first saw you holding Kirith. Words I did not mean for anyone to hear. Amy waited, curious. I said, perhaps there is hope after all. Valthira continued. I have lived for 3,000 years, have seen so much death and destruction. When I learned the Devourers were returning, I felt despair for the first time in centuries. But then I saw you, a fragile human holding my injured child, and something in my heart changed. You reminded me that courage and compassion are not about how long you live or how powerful you are. They are about the choices you make in each moment. She placed a hand on Amy's shoulder. You chose to help when you could have walked away. That choice changed everything. It brought our peoples together. It gave us hope, and it proved that even in a dark universe, there is still light. Never forget that, Amy Parker. No matter what comes, no matter how terrible the war becomes, remember that small acts of kindness can change the course of history. Amy felt tears on her cheeks. I won't forget. I promise. As the Horizon's Edge prepared to depart, carrying Amy, Kirith, and 3 dragon advisors back to human space, Amy stood on the bridge and looked back at the Eternal Flame. She thought about everything that had happened, about how a simple mission to map a moon had turned into the beginning of an alliance that might save the galaxy. She thought about the challenges ahead, about convincing Earth's governments that the threat was real, about preparing humanity for a war unlike anything they had ever faced. It was overwhelming, impossible, terrifying, but she was not alone. She had Kirith, she had the support of the Dragon Council, and she had faith in her own people. Humans were good at the impossible. They had left their homeworld and spread across the stars in just a few centuries. They had faced countless challenges and survived them all. Now they would face their greatest challenge yet, and Amy would be there to help them through it. Through the bond, Kirith sent her a feeling of absolute confidence and love. The little dragon had chosen her for a reason, and Amy was finally beginning to understand what that reason was. She was meant to be a